Hi everyone, welcome to Thursday. Today we're going to take a look at the Smartinvest share for Bitcoin because I know Bitcoin has certainly come in and out of favour for a number of people for the last few years, to be honest. It's obviously a hot topic, it's barbecue advice, all of that sort of thing. So let's take a look and see how it has actually been performing. Now, before I jump across and share my screen, just remember that this is for educational purposes only. Definitely not intended to be personalised financial advice. If you are looking for personalised advice, then you do need to go and have a chat to your own financial advisor. Right, let's have a look. So I've got the Bitcoin ETF up here on the screen, and this one is offered by Smartinvest. And if I click on the funds and performances, I've gone into thematic shares. And here it is here. The ticker code is BTC. And you can see that it is designed to reflect the performance of the price of Bitcoin. If I click on that, it also brings up the market price, the 1 year return, and the fund charges. And down the bottom here, it is classified as a 7 because it is a very highly risky investment. This Smart Bitcoin ETF has been listed on the New Zealand Stock Exchange since the 24th of October 2024. So it's only a fairly new addition. But let's take a look at the performance of that. So I've got this on the 5-year chart, and we know that it hasn't been going for that long. But the reason I've done that is because it brings up these candles that are on a weekly basis. And that is, for me, the way I like to do my research. You can see it has had quite a big fall over the last 4 weeks. In fact, 4 weeks in a row, we've had downward periods. Last week, however, it was a little bit positive. But let's go and put on our moving averages because they tend to be the source of truth, definitely for me anyway. So I use the 30 exponential moving average. And straight away, you can see that Bitcoin is trading below that. So that would definitely be a knockout for me. But we'll also put on the 15 period moving average and see how that compares. Again, Bitcoin is trading below that, and you can see that this 15 period moving average has just crossed through the 30. What that means is when that 15 period moving average crosses through the 30 and the shares are trading below it, that means that the share is obviously in a downward trajectory. Now, I never want to guess tops nor bottoms. I want to wait until these moving averages have crossed up. So the 15 period moving average is trading above through the 30. And also I want the share to be above that. Because if a share's trading below both of these, like Bitcoin currently is, nobody knows how low a share can go, and they can go to zero. Now, Bitcoin, as we all know, is a very volatile instrument. Some people like it, some people don't. There's a lot of controversy around it. I'm certainly not getting into the fors and againsts or anything like that. That's entirely up to you. For me, I want to look at, well, what are the charts telling me? We just take a look at the 1 year. Now, this brings these candles up to a daily basis. And since it's been going on the New Zealand Stock Exchange, you can see Bitcoin hit a high of the week October 2025, so earlier this year, and it hit a high that week of about $4.71. So it's come off quite a bit since then. And you can clearly see here that there's a lot more red candles on the screen than what we have green ones, which definitely indicates selling pressure. Even on the daily basis, the share is trading below both the 15 and 30 week moving average. And in fact, if I zoom in, you can see that they crossed at around sort of the 21st of October this year. And that was where the 15 weeks fell below it. And obviously it's carried on falling since then. Hey, it could rebound. I have said that, but we want to make sure that those moving averages are above it. Now I'm just going to take these off. I'll just go back to the 5 year. Now what I'm looking for is the ATR trailing stops. And this is what I use in order to determine, before I even enter a share, where my stop loss is going to be. So I'm using the ATR, and I'm using that for a 21 period. So whether I'm on the daily chart or the weekly chart, it will be either 21 days or 21 weeks. Given that I'm on the weekly chart, clearly it's going to be 21 weeks. I like to multiply it usually by 4. So just change that figure there to 4. And I'm just going to change this sell stops color and let's make it blue. Right, I've actually made it into a line. So you can see that with Bitcoin, depending on obviously where I had entered it, it's only started back here sort of March earlier this year. Now, as Bitcoin kept rising, you can see that the blue line kept going up. Then when it went through a period of flat, which it reached this high here in May 2025, then it came down a little bit and stayed flat. And if you look down the bottom, so would my stop loss. It would have flatlined as well. It's giving this share room to move, but as it jumps up again, which it did here in July, you can see that my stop would have jumped up again, moved sideways, had little bits of increases, and then basically stayed the same since October this year. And if we go back to that daily chart, that was where Bitcoin on the New Zealand market hit its high. So then it flatlined, and you would see, even though it's got that line up, disregard that, you can see here, which would have been the week of 17th of November, you would have been stopped out. So depending on exactly where you had your stop loss at and where the market was at that day, but you would have been stopped out at that candle. And the reason I say it's hard to actually determine, you have to put a stop in the market, which is if this share hits this predetermined price, I want my order to be put into the market. And then you have to put a limit on there as well to say, okay, if it hits a figure below where your stop was put, you want your order taken out of the market. So usually they're filled in between the two. Sometimes you'll get it right at the top on your stop loss price. Sometimes it will go right down to your limit. So you do have to have a little bit of discrepancy. And in fact, when I'm loading stop losses into the market, I tend to have about a 1% variance as to where my stop loss is going to enter the market and where I want the limit to be. I just want it to be taken out. You can't have that too wide, otherwise the broker won't accept it. So that's why I tend to use about 1% as my figure. But that's what you can see there. That's when we would have been taken out. If we go back to the 1 year chart, and it shows us a little bit more clear as to the actual day we would have been taken out. So let's just zoom in. And you can see there, it's this candle here, and that would have been the 16th of October where we would have been taken out. Now, because the share has been trading downwards ever since then, you can see that blue line is not showing anymore. It has flipped to a red line, and what that is saying, this is for people who want to short the market. In other words, those people that want to sell the share before buying it because they think that it is going to go lower, and obviously some point it will go back up in price is what they are speculating, and that's when they would buy that share back. You can't do that on the New Zealand market, but my screen, it shows that you can do it for both. Shorting is not something that I do on the market, simply because the best return you can have is if a share goes to zero. Not often they do that, but whereas on the upside of a share can certainly be limitless. So that's where we would have been taken out. And I definitely recommend using stop losses. And Bitcoin to me is a very good example to be using this on because it is such a volatile instrument. Just remember though that if you get hit out of your stop because the share has hit its stop price, it's not terminal. You can make a decision later on, especially if the share starts performing and goes around and starts heading north again, you can definitely buy back in. All a stop loss is doing is taking the emotion away as to, oh, do I sell? Do I hold? What do I do? You've already put that in when you've done your buy. And it also means that you can be doing anything else. You could be out going for a walk with friends, having lunch, anything, and you don't have to worry about what the market's doing because your stop loss will protect you and, like I keep saying, take you out of the market. And the big thing about them as well, especially with volatile stocks, is that it's about protecting your capital. Because if you lose all your capital, then that's it. You can't go and play again. So protecting your capital is absolutely paramount with any sort of investment. So I'll stop sharing. So I really hope that's helped. It's been interesting because I know there is a lot of topic of conversation around Bitcoin, and it's one of those stocks that will come and go. We've seen trends over the years. Gosh, I remember the dot-com bubble. There were all sorts. And Bitcoin is absolutely no different. By all means, if there's having a good run, jump on board, but make sure you use those stops to protect you. Now, hey, if you are looking to invest in the share market, or if you've got a share that you would like me to review, doesn't have to be on the New Zealand market, by all means, reach out, let me know. I'm happy to do a video on it. Or if there's something you would like to know, if you've got some burning questions, maybe there's something I've discussed in one of my videos that you're really not sure about, again, reach out, happy to answer those and help you on your share trading journey. So until next week, take care.